Hmm. It's not okay. Okay. So, hi guys. I want to welcome you to today's session. So, first of all, I'd like to thank you for making here. So today we have Avinash, who will be taking us through hosting and deployment. So Angular hosting and deployment on AWS and CloudFront. So I hope you guys enjoy the session and get to learn a lot from Avinash. So over to you, Avinash. You're welcome. I think you're muted.
Okay, now, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hello,
Now we can
hello,
hear you.
devs. So let me introduce myself. I am Avinash Shashikant Ravi. So currently working as a software engineer to as a Eagleview India. I am having around 10 plus of years of experience as a full stack developer. Also work as an architect for building solutions and product to help for the automation. Uh, Generally having experience of more than 4 years in industry of e-commerce and finance domain, and I am like I'm very big fan of the open source for like the community, and I keep writing a blog on my intercatta.com. It's my own blog, and recently I started as a like speaking to the communities and multiple events. So that's about myself. So I think let's jump on to our today's session. Hi. So today we are going to discuss about the Angular hostings and deployment process on AWS S3 plus using the CloudFront. So let's get started. There is some issue in moving slide. Yeah, it moved. So like today's agenda is like to know about how hosting Angular web apps on the AWS using the S3 and CloudFront. How can we automate the build deployment that can be help us to recover from such a failure? And we'll walk through some common issues that occurs while doing the AWS 3 web hosting. And if you have any questions, we can have a discussion on that. So, okay, so before we start, go into the actual topics, like let's know about like like what is S3 bucket. So S3 bucket is another Amazon services or the resources. It kind of a storage which used for storing the content, media, or any static files. It can use as a static web hosting also. So here in Angular web hosting, we are going to use as a static web hosting as a S3 bucket. Now next is a CloudFront. CloudFront is kind of another CDN provided by the AWS service. Like you heard about the CloudFront, right? Whenever you want to do cache content like CSS, JavaScript, or any media images, generally we use a CDN content. CDN is a content delivery network. So CloudFront is another kind of such a CDN provided by them. Third is the Route 53. Route 53 is a component is to use for the managing a NS record. NS record is name server which has a record, MS entry, all about that we can manage the domain. And the fourth one is the ACM. Like ACM is like a bonus point generally kind of AWS. When you use AWS SSL certificate for a particular domain and use inside like AWS resources, they generally don't charge you. But if you use that in outside AWS, they charge for you. So it like that's why I call it as a bonus. So let's understand like how like any of the application hosting flow work. So like whenever you are doing any browser request, right, over the your browser console, right, like suppose take example of I'm putting the internetkata.com as a browser request. It first go to your ASP is your service provider, and based on the service provider that gives whatever the IPs or the entry of the particular domain is inside the route table, and based on the route table it go to the route 53. Once it's go to the route 53, a route 53 search for like what is a link to the So like suppose example of like today's session, right? So cloud 53 is a point to the CloudFront, and inside the CloudFront we have to set the origin as a S3 bucket. Okay, so it will get once we go to the CloudFront will go to serve the content from the S3 bucket. Okay, and then the S3 bucket will serve the particular project file. So it's like a this kind of route, like browser request go to the route 53. Route 53 is goes to the CloudFront. CloudFront goes to the S3 bucket and goes to the project files. Okay, and that's about hosting like flow. So this kind of hosting flow generally is not about AWS. It can be any of the kind of hosting will work. Only the naming of the particular component will change across the other different multiple hosting providers. So now let's understand like what are the steps need to be know before we host our Angular applications or the AWS S3. Like these are the steps which I explain here, like S3 bucket creation, setting up the bucket policy, setting up the S3 configurations. Then we have to create the Angular build. Once we're done with the Angular build, let's upload to the S3 bucket. And once we're done with the S3 bucket, create the ACM. ACM is the certificate provider. Whichever domain we are going to use it, we have to use the exactly same domain name as in ACM, so that can be map it properly. And then create the CloudFront. Whenever we are creating a CloudFront, we have to set the origin as the same bucket name and map it to the S3 bucket. Once we set up the of the CloudFront, we can create the CloudFront cloud. We can create the route to the entry. So we have to make sure that our bucket name, our domain name, and our certificates domain should be matched to each other. If it that not match, it's difficult to map particular rough to the entity to the CloudFront origin to the S3 bucket. So make sure whatever domain you're going to use it, like your S3 bucket name should be the same name as the domain name. Okay. So so let's go to the live session of thing. Okay. So we'll just go to the AWS. So let me share the screen. Okay, so I already logged in as into the AWS console. So AWS console, like generally AWS give us a free tier also. So if you have not started yet, you can just opt in for the free tier and you can play around with that. So this is the kind of S3 bucket console. You can search it, go to here and search for S3. It will show your S3 scalable thing. You can click here. Yeah. So yeah, you can see the list of the buckets. Now, some of the buckets are already like created. So let's take an example for today's session. We'll just create a bucket name called um, Angular Kenya dot. So I'm going to use my domain name because already the domain name associated with the certificate provider. So generally I created a star certificate, so I can use a multiple subdomain as the same certificate. So let's take example of Angular Kenya dot Avinash.com. Okay. Here we have to set the block all public access, right? We have to just untick it, so it will be okay because we are going to serve the content over the your browser, right? So people can see your the HTML content, your CSS content, your JavaScript content. We have to give a public access to the across your bucket. So this no need to worry about the bucket versioning because we are not going to store for any imagery. We are going to use a filing, so we'll maintain our versioning part. Like tag can be used to identify like particular things, like if you are working in a particular company, we can identify which bucket is belong to which team, which bucket belong to which team owner, like email address, that particular tag you can identify it. Default infection will put it in disable mode only. and let's create the bucket. Just acknowledge this because they are saying that current setting might result in the bucket and the object will becoming public, and that's what we wanted to have it. Like we want to have it about public hosting only. So we'll just create a bucket. So bucket creation process is in process. Yeah, once it create, it get available. Like you can see here, angularkenya.avinash.com is available. Okay, and now we'll just go here and set up some more. Like we have seen a step, right? Once we create a bucket, we have to set up the bucket configuration. So we just set the bucket configuration inside the property, where we have to set we have to use this bucket as a static web hosting. So let me yes. So here currently static web hosting is a disable mode. So let's edit this and we'll enable this, and you can say host as a static website. Like this can be used as a redirect request to object also. So you can keep the bucket empty and you can put any other domain to be redirect. So if you click it, you have to set particular URL to what it. But in this demo, we are going to use as a static website hosting. So in our everyone know about our Angular has a route file is a index.html only, and we don't have any specific error page. So our error page will also be route to the index.html. So make sure that we have both map it to the same page index.html, and then we'll save the changes. Once we save the changes, we are be able to see that things. Okay, and now next step is to give a bucket access to serve the content. Like bucket has a different policy like get object, put object, okay, post object, like that. So we have to set the bucket policy to use as a gate object, because are we are going to use the gate object. Like when you are serving the content, right, we have to give the gate object. So already we have set up this. So we'll just set here the bucket policy. So bucket policy, like standard bucket policy comes, like we can like identify different bucket policy. Like you can restrict a particular domain to particular IP or particular domain only referrer can use it. That has the multiple. So you can just go to the AWS documentation, has very beautifully explained that about how simple storage web hosting. So here in this document, they have mentioned you have to use for a standard bucket policy this one. So we just copy this and paste it here, and we'll just name it to our domain like angular kenya dot avinash.com, and then we are set for the bucket. Okay, so these are our bucket things are there. Our bucket is all set. Okay, so now once we bucket set, we'll just go to the CloudFront. We'll create a CloudFront entry for it. So why we require CloudFront? CloudFront generally gives uh, our content caching, plus we got the HTTPS certificate also. We can map it our certificate, so it can go to the HTTPS service. So let's create a distribution. So we are going to use our web distribution. So we'll get started. So here we can see we are getting a list of the document. So whenever we are using our domain name as the same, right? We have to use the same things only. Like our is the Angular Kenya. So automatically it will come. No need to worry about other parameters. There's a timeout or attempt parameter. So what our behavior will be that whenever there is a HTTP set, it will automatically redirect to HTTPS. So we'll just point it to the redirect HTTP to HTTPS. See, we're not going to touch it yet. Here we'll set the same bucket name like Angular, same domain name angular.km, because this is we are going to use as the alias in our Route 53 entity. So Angular Kenya .avinash.com. Okay, and we have already have a dot star certificate. So we'll just click I have already subscribed dot star avinash.v. If you want to know about the certificate, you have to just go to here, request certificate, and put the domain name. If you want to have a star domain, just put the star dot your domain.com. Automatically it will be created and it will ask for the variations. It's simple processing for the like getting the certificate. So already have the star domain. I'm going to use the same one. And my default object will be index.html. Okay, so that's it. We are set for the creation of the CloudFront entries, and let's create the CloudFront entry. So now let's wait for that because it sometime it take a 5 to 10 minutes or to create that particular cloud entry. Once we create that, we'll just see the overall how it works. So before that, we will just go to the next slide. Let me share my next slide. So from this step, you have seen that we have created a bus bucket policy we have set, SC configuration we are done. Only we have not done the Angular build and upload build. These are the things are pending. So we'll just go one by one. Okay. So let's go to the Angular build. So actually, I already created the Angular build, so I can use it. No need to download it again. So I'll just copy this folder path. You just go to particular folder, portal Angular. So this folder will have the things. So we'll just go to the. Let me share my full screen. Mm, hi Ben. How can I share my full desktop itself? Is there any option? Okay, fine. I think we'll just go here. I'll just go to the S3. We'll upload the content here. Just click on upload. Add files. Mm, they have changed the UI a little bit. So let's see if we can find out that file. Just select multiple file to upload it. Add the folder also, asset folder. So asset folder will be there. And it upload it. So data is showing till 20 file uploading. So we'll just till that. Okay, our the CloudFront entry is enabled. So we can go to the route 53, route 53, and we can map it our CloudFront entry into the CloudFront. Meanwhile, that file upload is still progress. I think it's completed. Just go to the hosted zone because I already have the domain register there, like on avinash.com. So we'll just go to there, create a new subdomain called angularkenya.avinash.com. So we already have that. We just click on that and we create a record set. Okay. So here we'll go. Just go to create record. Simple routing. Next, define simple record. We'll give Angular Kenya .v. I'll choose the endpoint as a CloudFront distribution. Here, automatically that CloudFront will come. So, hope you remember that at the start of that time, right? I told you about like we have to use exact the same domain name as the bucket name and same CloudFront as the alias. So it will automatically map it. So no need to worry about whether it will map or not. So define the simple record. Record is done and just create a record. Okay. I think then the file upload is already done. Just see. Exit. You see that all files are available properly. Correct. So let's go here. Angular Kenya. So you can see our code is available here. So the page is there. You can see other some sample page are there. Like so. Okay. So we just show that sample page are there. Now we are done with this steps. Okay. So let's move to the next discussion. Okay. Why should I automate something? Like it can reduce your repetitive tasks. It can avoid multiple mistakes. And when you have automations, right, for the build process, like deployment process, right, it can be easily rollbacks also if something goes wrong. And of course, it's remove the dependencies also. So what I did, like generally, like did some like based on the steps, right? So let's see what are the deployment steps are there. What we done also now, like running the ng build, then copying the build folder, like that destination folder, and upload to S3 bucket. Once we done the upload process, we go to the CloudFront and invalidate the cache content. Now we are done very freshly. That's why we don't need to invalidate the cache content. But when we upload next time, we have to invalidate the cache content. If any changes in a file, right, we have to invalidate the cache content. What is the invalidate cache content? Invalidate cache content is like whenever you upload a new content to the S3 bucket, we have to tell the CloudFront like our new content is available now. Expire the older content and serve the new content. That called the invalid the cache to content. Okay. So what I did about after doing this manual step, right? I created a simple Python script called as the Angular upload SCCF. Okay, it is available here in this GitHub. I'll share the links in a chat, or my slide also is available, that all these links are all reference links. So I created a simple Python script which do this all steps. Okay, the documentation is mentioned here, what the things are required. So this is a Python script built to automate the Angular build to the S3 bucket and clear the cache of the CloudFront. So what is the prerequisite? Is a Python pipe required, Boto3, and pipe git is required whenever if you are using to the directly git configuration, MIME tab, and AWS CRL. AWS CRL is a AWS command line interface which has that option to upload to a particular AWS account. So what we can do generally, you can just clone this repository, and you like make sure you complete this all prerequisite and you can run that. So let me just quickly go through it how I created that one. So this is the major file, like which do the law like basic things, like, so these are the library I included. So no need to worry about it. I'm just going to quickly walk through the script. You no need to worry about it. You can just clone it and implement it properly. So no need to worry about that. So I have a step called start process. Once the task process, it create the build, it upload the build, and it clear the cache environment. You can see, right? You can see here, like I have set up the here the steps right here. The ng build, copy pull folder, upload to S3 bucket, upload S3, and CloudFront embedded cache. My screen is visible. When my screen is visible, this code is able to see the Python.
Sorry, unfortunately, we're not able to see the code. We're only seeing the AWS section.
Oh, I'm really sorry about it, because screen is not and sharing to the across all desktop. How can I screen? Now you can see. Now able to see
Yes,
my screen. Yes, right.
yes,
Uh, uh, this you're able to see slide. You able to see slide?
yes.
Okay. Sorry. Now I think this will work. I'm really sorry for that. So this is the actually Angular, the Python library which I created is available in the GitHub. Name is Angular upload S3CF. This link is available in the slides also. So I'll just quickly walk through the Python code just to understand, not to worry about the code. If you don't know about the Python, I think like you can just run simple unit tests and job can be done. So it's like a create build, upload build, and the clear invalidation. So what need to be done there? We have to just mention here whatever the domain name is there. Like suppose in our case, we will mention Angular Kenya dot Avinash. You can set the build path. If you have separate build path, you can mention there. I have a same build path, so I mention like that, and repository name. Here we have to mention the distribution ID. So where we will get a distribution ID? You have to go the browser, go to the CloudFront settings. You see the domain name Angular Kenya. Just copy this ID. That is called a distribution ID. Paste it here and done. And the build command which you want to run it. You can change your build command if you have separate different command without product you want to use it, without AOT you have to use it. You can use whatever comfortable command you can use it. And you can there is an option to back up the existing file. That's the like beauty of the automation, right? It back up the existing file, create a folder of whatever name you will provide it, and move it to that folder and upload a new files. So I'll just for example, I'll mention 1.2.2 and I'll just run it. So I already have a build, so I'll just disable the build part so I can save the time. Okay, I'll just quickly run this case. Yeah, now started. Apology for the like my system is a little bit slow. So it will start uploading the file. You can see like the file getting uploaded there, and then the folder is getting uploaded. You can see the progress. Like once it's complete, it will show that it's done. It uploaded our code uploaded successfully. Now it will do the invalidation. Now final message is like bit successfully upload to S3 and CloudFront. Okay. Now we'll just go to our browser and see here. We'll just refresh the content. Okay. You can see the latest content and the all existing content will go to the backup folder. Okay, that's the beauty of automation. So I told right how can like we save from the failure, like if something wrong with your existing build, right, no need to worry about like it is not reflecting or overriding existing file. You can just go remove this file, go to this folder, copy the file from that folder to move it here, and you are done. Like but once you've done that, you have to invalidate the cache here. So the go to here invalidations, it is already in progress, done by the script. So if you want to do the manually, you can just create invalidation cache slash star and slash index.html, and you can just click the invalidation cache. That's it. So you can see the new content. So that's about automation. So we'll move it to the next slide. What issue currently generally face in AWS S3 hosting, right? Now let me show you one thing. Like if you go to your board, okay, if my domain serve like this, okay, it will open my the current landing page whatever it is. But if I go here and type it the another domain, another browser something, it will not load. It will throw the my access denied. Why generally it work? Because the reason behind it is a very common issue. Like multiple place people are asking about over the internet, like how to enable whenever there is a like URL change like without default, right? It gives the access denial. Why it work? Because the reason is like the CloudFront doesn't understand the URL rewriting. There is a concept called URL rewriting. Doesn't understand about it. We have to tell them forcefully that whatever the URL going to use it, map it to the index.html. That's a common issue faced whenever there is a AWS S3 web hosting going to the Angular or any React also or any other SPA will face the same kind of issue. So there is a Stack Overflow answer is available. It's the same kind of issue. It has like a lot of people have faced the same issue. So let me show you how to give it. So what we have to do it. We have to go to the CloudFront. We have to go to the error pages. Here we have to define the custom error pages. So we'll just click on 400. We'll just see here index.html response file. This is okay. Great. Sorry. Here we have to find the path. Okay. And create it. So this is the one error it will get cache, and another is the 403 forbidden. So let's slash index.html and okay, create it. Done. Okay. So now we can see here. Let's see the let me just create a cache. Copy and load the cache again. Yeah, now it's done. So you can see the other pages also without like automatic default routing. It can also route that. This is the most common issue faced in a Angular or any other SPA framework like React also or Vue.js also. Whenever you host to AWS S3, because AWS S3 and other like CloudFront doesn't understand about the URL rewriting. So that's about the most common issue which I explained here. And that's about overall demo. Okay, I hope you guys have learned something about the demo. So, we can just move to the like quick QA. If you don't have anyone has any questions, so I will be able to happy to answer that question.
Yeah, hi. I just want to know that is it really possible to hosting without a CDN? Because as you said that S3 will do the caching and the content delivery. So is it really possible to host without the CloudFront? Whatever is
Yes,
typically.
yes, we can do that without CloudFront also. The only thing is like if you want to use the HTTP certificate, then you have to use the CloudFront because HTTP certificate only map it to the CloudFront. HTTP certificate like ACM certificate will not link to the S3 bucket. So for that you can just let me share my screen. I'll just quickly show you. So here we can just go to here. Route 53. Okay, create record, simple routing. Next, define simple records. Example.com. Okay, endpoint will be the you have to select the S3 website endpoint, and then you can directly map the Route 53 entry into the S3 bucket. So no need to require to be CloudFront. The only thing is like you will not have this certificate. The HTTP will not be there. You can directly serve the content without a HTTP. That's the only drawback of that. But directly using the Route 53 without using the CloudFront. I hope I answer your question.
Yeah, yeah. And one more, just want to know that any compression method is available where we can compress my content while hosting
Yes,
into.
yes, you can have the option in S3 bucket compress the object, but compressing and caching is totally different. When you say compress, it will just reduce your size, but caching is like it caches to the particular host, the network, and you serve the content from your particular like nearest CDN.
Okay.
Anyone else has a question?
Just a question on the previous questions that has just been asked. So that one you've created it without going through the CloudFront.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So does that mean that the 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 caching part will not be able to work, or
Yes,
because
the
that's what?
caching will not be there. The caching will not be
Oh,
there because CloudFront a role was to cache the content and serve the content over the HTTPS. If you want to use the HTTPS also, it will only enable when you use the CloudFront. So it's not only the
okay,
HTTP website. When you were using the EC2 instance also, that time also you required a CloudFront to serve the content over the HTTPS. If you use the Route 53.2 directly to the S3 bucket, it will only serve the content over the HTTP. It will not have a cache.
okay. So just basically for me, I would just say a comment that it's actually pretty much straightforward. The section for the automation is actually what I was more interested on. And I don't know if it's the right forum to bring this, but there's only one section for automation that has actually really been challenging on my end, and
Okay.
it's more on the environmental variables on the Angular side, where there's the testing and there's the production. So when you're trying to do automated builds and this environment variables that are required on the test environment that need
Hmm.
to change when moving to production,
Yeah.
I've found a challenge on how to be able to go around that
Okay.
without involving manual intervention where someone has to
Yes.
go
Yes.
to code and change and then push to production?
Okay. For that, generally, I have given option here in a test, right? You can mention the dev stage and product. So there is a mapping. Generally, already done based on the our like Angular things. Like Angular, whenever you have the prod, the hyphen prod will come. Like you, there is an option to map it like properly the particular environment. So the code is able to change based on the environment. You have to pass like which environment you're parting, like dev, stage, or prod. Based on that, the configuration will take it. So no need to pass the command also. It automatically command. So there is some enhancement which I am already working on it generally to pass. Like whenever there is a prod, okay, you can map it to the particular prod branch also, production branch or master branch. You can map it to master branches also, your gate branch, and what configuration you need to use it. If you have a multiple AWS account, like production different account, stage different, and dev, right? You can use separate AWS configuration also. And for the request parameter also, like which bucket. Suppose production we have a different bucket name, staging you have different bucket name, like that you can mention. Like distribution ID will also different for different environment. So everything can be mentioned here, and then you can run the test. But little bit modification you have to do it. I'm like still working on to find like finding the easiest option, which like doing the without a lot more changes. So currently, only you have to do it like if you are doing the environment changes, you have to pass same particular environment command and particular distribution ID and the environment name. That's it.
Okay.
I hope answer your question.
Partly, but
Yep, yeah,
for the
yeah.
rest, probably I would
But
be
you can
able to just go.
yeah, you can get in touch with me for the particular thing. I'll be more happy to help you your in details query. Like if you are going to use this library, then I'll be able to help you into that, doing a multiple like what you want to do environment wise, right? I can do that for you.
Okay, thanks.
I have a questions on this. Is it applicable in every Angular version? Because
Yes,
it's Angular 5, Angular 9, and the not.
it applicable from the Angular 2
Okay.
to the 10th or 11 also, because this generally doesn't depend on the Angular basics. Like if you see the code, right? Let me
Yeah.
share the code again. If you see the code is not depend on the Angular. Like it's only the command base. Like suppose the Angular 2 doesn't have a AOT enable, you don't want to pass it. It only command what you are building it. Doesn't care about like which version it. But it's not available generally for Angular before 2. After 2, all the version it will work. For using the Angular JS version, you have to do some bits of this modification in the code.
Okay.
Because library like not depend on any of the Angular version. It's just the run the Angular command, build it, copy the file to the S3 bucket. That's it. So no need to link up the Angular. So you can use any other project also. If you have React also, right? You have to just run the React build command. Okay, to create a build, upload the file to the S3 bucket. That's it.
Okay. So no, Node version also not
Not
initial.
if you have already set up the Angular right in your machine or Angular or React anything, right?
No.
It will just this script will just go to that particular folder, run the particular build command, do their job, and copy the file and put in the S3 bucket.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyone else who has a question? Okay, so if there's none, I'd like to say a big thank you to Avinash for taking us through this session. And I really hope at least everyone who has attended this session has been able to gain something, at least gotten to understand how they can deploy Angular apps on AWS. Personally, it's something I've been always looking forward to, and I'm glad that this has happened. And thank you very much, Avinash, for that. And this session has been a recorded session, so it's always going to be available for anyone who wants to always refer back to it, and it's going to be on like in the YouTube channel. So whoever is interested, they can always go back and like always do some sort of referring to it when they have like an issue or they want to resolve something. Let's do this. And if I'm not wrong, Avinash should probably share your resources like slides and GitHub repos and all that.
Yeah. So it's available in a slide. So I'll share the slide. How can I share a slide in a chat? Is there an
Oh,
option?
you can just send it to us via Twitter. Then
Okay, I'll
what
share it
I'll
to
just
you.
do is
Then you can, yeah,
yeah.
correct. So
Yeah.
this slide has all references, whichever the GitHub repository I shown it, Stack Overflow answers, and Amazon documentations also.
Okay, sure, no problem, no problem. All right.
Yep.
So the recording will be ready by tomorrow in the afternoon. So when it's done, of course, I'll share with you and also share with the rest of the community. And yeah, I'd like to say thank you. Any last words, Avinash?
No, thanks for giving the opportunity and sharing my thoughts on the community. I hope my like session will be helpful for people.
Yes, for sure, sure. All right, without much further ado, I'd like to say again, big thank you to Avinash and thank you to everyone who has attended this session and wishing you all a very good evening.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks for attending.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.